I really think it's as simple as it's Joe's job until it's Joe's job until ... But the ... really begins to be in question once he stacks 2 losses in a row. I really think that's how tenuous this is. Now, if they start 0-2, that's still very early. But if you start 1-2, and then all of a sudden your last game is a loss, your last game is a win, and then you put 2 losses together and you're 1-5.
Yeah,
I think all bets are off. I think anyone speaking in certainty that Joe is playing 18 games or that Joe is guaranteed half. I don't think the Browns could guarantee you that right now. And so I think in a way, whether it was intentional or otherwise, I think saying Joe's our week 1 starter, I think that just made a lot of sense the way they put it out, even if some people read a lot into it.
What's interesting about that is that is what I believe the Colts did last year with Joe Flacco in many ways, right? Like he lost the Minnesota game, he lost the Buffalo game. That was 2 in a row, and they're like, all right, back to Anthony Richardson we go. Even though Joe Flacco really didn't look that awful last year in many respects. He really didn't. His passer rating was the same passer rating as what Aaron Rodgers finished with in the season, but they waited for the back-to-back losses, then they went back to Richardson. Might be the same thing the Browns are doing here. If you start off 0-2, though, and we know that Stefanski loves Kenny Pickett, will there be a rush to then see what Pickett can do?
No, I don't know. I still don't even know. I think...
I'm curious the most about what his rush is for Kenny Pickett.
I'm just torn on the Kenny Pickett thing. I just am, because it's like there's such a big part of me that just doesn't believe he's going to be here week 1, meaning like for the actual week 1 game, that it's almost like I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, because it's just so hard to believe.
It's like a wasted convo before we end up getting there, because your brain won't be able to wrap yourself around him actually being there.
Yeah, I mean, if you go, because just even right now, the idea of going from Joe Flacco on a short leash to Kenny Pickett on a short leash and then going to the rookies feels like you're really wasting a lot of time.
Feels incredibly dumb to me as well.
And feels like you could have the bounce back of actually losing more because of the way you handle that.
But if Stefanski right now actually thinks that the best quarterback on the roster is, in fact, Kenny Pickett, then you could see how that ends up turning.
How could he possibly believe that?
Because he's believed it the entire time. That's how he could possibly believe it.
I mean,
I don't believe it. You don't believe it. But he's given us every indication that that's what he thinks.
So we are still working to get Albert Breer here on the show. It should be noted while having this conversation. Something that continues to come up is just Joe Flacco and the expectations for the Browns. Our next guest, joining us in the fan hotline, joins us most every Tuesday. Today it's a Wednesday with schedules as we get you ready for football season, to talk Joe Flacco, to talk the Trey Hendrickson nonsense, and so much more. We head out to the fan hotline and welcome on Albert Breer. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, we are living the dream right now. I think having a quarterback in place has some folks excited. So I saw you talked about this on your YouTube channel. Why was it Joe Flacco for the Cleveland Browns?
I think because he gives them the best answer right now. And, like, that schedule is really tough the first 6 games of the season. And, look, like I fully understand why a fan wouldn't be excited about this, right? Like, because I think the way a fan would look at this is they would say, well, I mean, like, we're retooling anyway, and this is sort of our bridge year. And so if we're going to go through like a bridge year, like, why are we wasting our time with a 40-year-old quarterback? The problem with that is that you have 10 other guys in the huddle that you got to serve on every play, and those guys don't care who your quarterback is in 2027. Those guys are worried about winning now. Those guys are worried about being successful now, both as a team and individually. And so, there's no quicker way to hijack someone's success individually or as a team than to throw your quarterback position overboard. And if the team believes that you aren't giving them the best answer at quarterback, well, then good luck, keeping their attention for the entire year. So I think this is just the reality that, for everybody else, the best solution was to have Joe Flacco in the lineup, and that Joe Flacco was going to give them the best chance to win in the here and the now. And I think that was clear in camp, especially after Kenny Pickett got hurt. And I think if you look at the way that the reps were structured, look, like I said this to you guys at the beginning, right? There was no way they were going to be able to have like a true 4-man competition where everybody was going to get an equal shot at the job in training camp. That just wasn't going to happen. So they gave Joe Flacco what essentially was a first-round bye into the summer competition through the spring. They collected as much information as they could on the other three. And by their actions, they showed that they viewed Kenny Pickett as really the only real competitor to Joe for the job at that point. They gave Dillon Gabriel some first-team reps because they felt like, just as far as his ability to run the operation, he at least could go in and play in a game for them. At that point, at that juncture in the calendar. And then, Shedeur was sort of treated a little bit more like the developmental guy. Right or wrong, like that's, what they're telling you with their actions. And, I think, looking back at it now, like Kenny by far had the best chance to beat out Joe, and obviously injury affected his ability to do that.
So are the Browns approaching this like it's Joe's job for 18 weeks or Joe's job until TBD?
Yeah, I think it's Joe's job until TBD. They're not going into the season thinking they're going to be 5-12, right? So the plan is to contend and compete for the playoffs. And if your quarterback's playing well and you're competing for the playoffs, then there's no need to even think about switching out unless someone has made such great strides in practice that you feel like you have to go another way to give yourself a shot. So as long as they're playing well, this is no non-issue. If they get to 1-7 or 3-8 or 4-9, does the equation change? Yeah. Because at that point you go from having to give your team the best answer at the position to, all right, we got to evaluate different pieces of our roster now. And I think players understand that. They're not blind to that, You can't do those sorts of things and, throw your season overboard in the name of developing a quarterback. You can't do those things at the beginning of the year when you're still in it. And certainly if you get to the middle of the year and you're still contending, you probably wouldn't want to upset the apple cart, regardless. But if you fall out of contention, I think, players understand at that point that the organization you can get to a point where the organization owes it to itself to try and figure out, where they're at with different guys in the roster.
What do you think happens to Kenny Pickett now?
I don't know if there's going to be a market for him trade-wise. My guess is he stays on as the backup. And I think, this is a guess, I think they'll keep all four quarterbacks. And then after all the hoopla and everything else, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are inactive on the Sunday of week one. Who knows? I think if somebody came across with some sort of representative offer for him, they would definitely listen.
Albert Breer of the MMQB on the Fan Hotline here with Nick and JP. We got Kevin Stefanski's press conference coming up in 3 o'clock hour, but back to the task at hand here, Albert. How much of a chance is there that the Bengals actually follow through and trade Trey Hendrickson before the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know if I call it following through. I don't think it's ever been their intention to trade him. But they've been listening, and they have been listening for a while. And I think sometimes, contrary to the way these things are dressed up, I don't think very many people are violently hanging up the phone when when someone calls to ask about a player. You know what I mean? These discussions happen all the time, and I think teams calling and taking the temperature on the situation is fair. I just don't think anybody would reach the asking price that Cincinnati would have. So it's going to be a draft pick, of course, but it's also going to be an active player, and the reason why is because Cincinnati views itself as a contender. And so, if you view yourself as a contender, that pick isn't going to help you in 2025, and you're taking one of the best players on your roster off your roster. Then you got to look at it from the other team's perspective, which the other team's perspective is, I'm assuming it's a contender trading for him. You're giving up a pick for a 31-year-old player. So that means you're giving up what could be a player who's on your roster 2028, 2029, right? For a player that's closer to the end than the beginning. And then you're also taking a chunk out of your current team by sending an active player to the Bengals. So how big is the gap between Hendrickson and the guy that you're letting go, right? So that's a factor as well. And then on top of that, you're giving him a huge contract, which, is hard to do with a player of his age. So I look at the totality of that, and it's hard for me to see, and he's a great player. He really is. 35 sacks the last 2 years. But based on the age, based on the contract, based on the comp it's going to take, I just think it's unlikely.
Miles today declined to address his citation for going 100 miles per hour in the 60 mile per hour zone. Fans got upset with it just a little bit. Do you feel like he owes us anything in that moment, or is it okay to just say, I'm only here for football questions?
I mean, I think, look, that's like a public safety issue. You know what I mean? So I think it would be appropriate to get up there and apologize, unless is there some sort of dispute going on with the case? Is it still in court or something like that?
No, I think it's all. Right? I think it's all settled.
I think the dispute was just being asked questions about that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, if it was still in courts or whatever, I can understand saying hey, I'll address that later. I do think in a situation like this where it's clearly a problem in the league, and I'm not picking on the Browns here. It's a problem in the sport. I mean, all the stuff that happened at Georgia, right? I think it's appropriate in a situation like that to say, I acted irresponsibly and I apologize for that. You know what I mean? It's a public safety matter, and obviously I'm a role model in this community, and I need to do better. That's the thing that kills me about something like this is if you say that and you're Myles Garrett, it's over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. It ends.
I think it's over. Yeah, I think it's over. So, and now, look, I don't think it's a major story now. Actually, in fact, I didn't even know about it until right before I went on with you guys. I saw his name out there, and so I didn't quite get around to clicking on the video yet to see what he said. But yeah, I think this is an appropriate situation to just give the public an apology.
Albert, great stuff as always, buddy. Thanks for making time with us. We'll talk to you next Tuesday when we'll be 1 week closer to the return of NFL regular season football, bud.
All right, thanks, guys.
Albert Breer there of the MMQB on the Fan Hotline.